Buddhism and its role in modern life. Buddhism, one of the world's oldest spiritual traditions, continues to provide guidance for millions around the world. Rooted in the teachings of Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, Buddhism emphasizes the path to enlightenment through understanding the nature of life and practicing mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom. In today's fast-paced and often chaotic world, the ancient teachings of Buddhism offer profound insights that can help individuals cope with modern challenges. From mental health issues to social conflicts, the teachings of Buddhism offer practical solutions that promote inner peace, emotional well-being, and personal growth. The core teachings of Buddhism, such as the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, offer a universal framework for understanding the human condition. These teachings can help us address the suffering we experience in our daily lives and guide us toward a more fulfilling existence. In a world where materialism and external achievements often dominate, Buddhism brings attention to the importance of cultivating a peaceful and balanced mind. Overview of Buddhist Scriptures. Buddhist scriptures, also known as the Tripitaka or Three Baskets, form the foundation of Buddhist teachings. These texts are divided into three main sections: the Vinaya Pitaka, rules for monastic life; the Sutta Pitaka, Buddha's discourses; and the Abhidhamma Pitaka, philosophical and doctrinal analyses. These scriptures are essential to understanding the teachings of the Buddha and offer valuable guidance for living a mindful, ethical life. Among the many sutras, several stand out for their profound wisdom and practical advice. The Dhammapada, for example, is a collection of verses that highlight the importance of ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom. The Heart Sutra, another well-known text, delves into the concept of emptiness and the nature of reality. The teachings found within these texts not only provide a path toward spiritual enlightenment, but also offer practical lessons that can be applied to daily life. The relevance of Buddhist teachings in the modern world. In today's world, many people are searching for deeper meaning and fulfillment beyond material success. Buddhist teachings emphasize the importance of inner peace, compassion, and mindfulness as essential components of a meaningful life. In a time of increased stress, anxiety, and uncertainty, these teachings offer a roadmap for navigating the complexities of modern existence. By applying the wisdom of the Buddha, we can cultivate a more mindful and compassionate approach to life, fostering a deeper connection with ourselves and others. One of the central tenets of Buddhism is the recognition of impermanence. The Buddha taught that all things are transient, and by accepting this truth, we can alleviate much of our suffering. In a society that often focuses on accumulation and achievement, this teaching provides a refreshing perspective on the fleeting nature of material possessions, success, and even relationships. As the world faces numerous challenges, including environmental crises, social unrest, and personal struggles, Buddhist teachings provide a steady source of wisdom and guidance. The practices of mindfulness, meditation, and ethical conduct, central to Buddhism, offer practical tools for navigating the difficulties of modern life with equanimity and compassion. This is just the beginning. If you'd like, I can continue expanding on this section, or we can move to the next part.
Bạn đã nói. Tiếp theo, Jack đã nói.
Here is the continuation of the article on profound lessons from Buddhist scriptures in modern life. 2. The Four Noble Truths, understanding the nature of suffering. The truth of suffering, dukkha. The Buddha's teachings begin with an acknowledgement of suffering, or dukkha, which is the first of the Four Noble Truths. In modern life, suffering manifests in many forms: physical pain, emotional distress, dissatisfaction, and the inevitable challenges that come with living in a complex and often unpredictable world. According to Buddhism, suffering is an intrinsic part of human existence. However, the Buddha does not suggest that life is hopeless or that suffering is something we must merely endure. Instead, he provides a pathway for understanding and transforming suffering. In contemporary society, people often seek happiness through external means: wealth, fame, relationships, or material possessions. While these things may offer temporary pleasure, they cannot provide lasting fulfillment. Buddhism teaches that the root of suffering lies in attachment, craving, and ignorance. Our desire for things to remain permanent, when everything is impermanent, leads to disappointment and distress. By understanding the nature of suffering, we can begin to free ourselves from the cycle of dissatisfaction. The truth of the cause of suffering, samadaya. The second noble truth explains the cause of suffering, samadaya, or the origin of suffering. This truth reveals that suffering arises from craving, tanha, and clinging to things that are transient. We desire what we do not have, and we try to hold on to things that are fleeting. Whether it is the craving for sensory pleasures, the attachment to possessions, or the desire for control, these attachments create tension and conflict in our lives. In modern life, this truth resonates strongly. The consumer-driven society encourages constant desire for more money, more success, more possessions. This endless pursuit of satisfaction is often driven by the belief that fulfillment lies outside ourselves. Buddhism, however, teaches that true happiness comes from within, and that by letting go of excessive desire and attachment, we can find peace and contentment. The truth of the end of suffering, Nirodha. The third noble truth, Nirodha, offers hope by stating that suffering can be extinguished. This is the truth of the cessation of suffering. The Buddha teaches that by freeing ourselves from craving and attachment, we can attain liberation, or nirvana. Nirvana is not a place but a state of mind, a state of profound peace, freedom from suffering and ultimate wisdom. This teaching is highly relevant in modern life. Many people feel trapped in a cycle of stress, anxiety, and discontent. However, Buddhism provides the message that it is possible to break free from this cycle. By cultivating mindfulness, practicing non-attachment, and embracing the present moment, we can begin to alleviate suffering and experience a sense of inner freedom. While the concept of nirvana may seem distant or unattainable, the Buddha teaches that the path toward it is a gradual process of transformation, available to anyone willing to practice. The truth of the path to the end of suffering, Magga. The fourth noble truth outlines the path that leads to the cessation of suffering, the Eightfold Path. This path is not a set of abstract concepts, but a practical guide to living in harmony with ourselves and the world around us. The Eightfold Path consists of 8 interconnected practices: right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. In modern life, the Eightfold Path provides a comprehensive framework for personal development and ethical living. It encourages us to cultivate wisdom through understanding the nature of reality, to act with integrity and kindness, and to develop mental discipline through mindfulness and meditation. These practices can help us navigate the stresses of daily life, improve our relationships, and foster a deeper sense of purpose and fulfillment. The concept of right livelihood, for example, is particularly pertinent in today's world, where ethical considerations in the workplace and consumer choices have become important topics. Choosing a career or a lifestyle that aligns with one's values and contributes positively to society is an essential part of living a balanced and ethical life. Practical application of the Four Noble Truths in modern life. The Four Noble Truths offer a timeless blueprint for understanding and overcoming suffering. While they are rooted in ancient Buddhist philosophy, their relevance to modern life is undeniable. By reflecting on the nature of suffering and its causes, we can begin to change the way we relate to the challenges we face. For example, in a world where people are increasingly overwhelmed by work, stress, and the pressures of daily life, the Buddha's teachings remind us to pause and reflect on the impermanence of our experiences. By practicing mindfulness, we can learn to observe our thoughts and emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. This practice can help us reduce stress, anxiety, and the tendency to overreact to life's difficulties. Moreover, by understanding the importance of non-attachment, we can begin to let go of the need to control outcomes and possessions. This shift in mindset can bring a sense of liberation, as we stop chasing fleeting desires and instead focus on what truly matters: inner peace, compassion, and wisdom. 3. The concept of impermanence, Anicca, embracing change. Understanding impermanence. One of the most fundamental concepts in Buddhism is the idea of impermanence, or Anicca. Everything in life, our thoughts, emotions, bodies, relationships, and material possessions, is in a constant state of flux. This truth is not just a philosophical idea, but a deep reality that can be observed in the world around us. Nothing lasts forever, and everything is subject to change. In modern life, we are often confronted with the illusion of permanence. We build expectations around the stability of our jobs, relationships, and even our health. When things change, such as losing a job, experiencing the end of a relationship, or facing personal illness, it can feel as though our entire world has been shaken. The Buddha's teaching of impermanence offers us a way to cope with these inevitable changes. Instead of clinging to the belief that things should remain the same, Buddhism teaches us to embrace the fluidity of life. By understanding that change is the nature of existence, we can learn to navigate the ups and downs of life with greater ease. This acceptance of impermanence allows us to experience the world more fully, without the constant fear of loss or anxiety about the future. The role of suffering in impermanence. While impermanence can be a source of anxiety, it also holds the key to liberation. The Buddha teaches that suffering arises when we resist change and cling to things as if they were permanent. By accepting the transient nature of life, we can begin to reduce our attachment and, in turn, our suffering. In today's fast-paced, materialistic society, the fear of loss often leads to stress and anxiety. People hold on tightly to their possessions, their appearance, or their social status because they fear that losing these things will cause them to lose their identity. Buddhism offers a path out of this cycle of fear and attachment by helping us understand that everything we hold dear is impermanent. This realization allows us to let go and find peace in the present moment. Applying impermanence to modern life. In our modern world, where change is constant and often unexpected, understanding anicca can provide a sense of calm and resilience. Whether it's coping with the end of a relationship, the loss of a job, or the aging process, Buddhism teaches that everything is part of the natural flow of life. For example, in the face of personal loss, understanding impermanence can help us process our grief without becoming overwhelmed by it. Rather than holding on to the pain of the past, we can accept it as part of our journey, knowing that it too will pass. By embracing the idea of change, we can find a greater sense of peace in the midst of hardship. On a more practical level, understanding impermanence also helps us focus on what truly matters. In a world obsessed with material wealth, fame, and success, Buddhism reminds us that these things are temporary. The joy we derive from them is fleeting. True happiness comes from cultivating inner qualities like kindness, compassion, and wisdom, which are not subject to the whims of external circumstances. The impermanence of the self. Another aspect of impermanence that Buddhism emphasizes is the concept of the non-self, anatta. This teaching challenges the common belief in a permanent, unchanging self. The Buddha teaches that what we call the self is actually a collection of changing phenomena, our thoughts, emotions, and physical body. There is no permanent, unchanging essence that we can cling to as I or me. This teaching can be liberating, as it frees us from the need to protect a fixed identity. Instead of striving to maintain a certain image of ourselves, we can embrace the fluid, evolving nature of our existence. This understanding of the self can help us let go of ego-driven desires and focus more on our interconnectedness with others. In modern life, where people often feel pressure to conform to social expectations and define themselves by their careers or achievements, the concept of anatta offers a refreshing perspective. It encourages us to let go of rigid self-concepts and embrace a more flexible, compassionate way of being. 4. The practice of mindfulness, sati living in the present moment. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness, or sati, is one of the most well-known Buddhist practices. It involves paying full attention to the present moment, without judgment or distraction. In Buddhism, mindfulness is seen as a means to develop greater awareness of the mind and to cultivate a deep understanding of the nature of reality. In modern life, mindfulness has become a popular practice for managing stress, improving mental health, and enhancing overall well-being. But the roots of mindfulness go far beyond its contemporary applications. The Buddha taught that mindfulness is a powerful tool for breaking free from the cycle of craving and attachment. By being fully present with each moment, we can observe our thoughts, emotions, and sensations without getting caught up in them. The power of the present moment. The Buddha's teachings remind us that the only moment we truly have is the present. The past is gone, and the future is uncertain. Yet, we often spend our time ruminating on past regrets or worrying about what lies ahead. This constant mental chatter pulls us away from the richness of the present moment and leads to unnecessary stress and anxiety. Mindfulness teaches us to let go of this mental distraction and focus on the here and now. Whether we are eating, walking, working, or interacting with others, mindfulness encourages us to engage fully with whatever we are doing. This practice helps us cultivate a sense of peace and clarity in the midst of our busy lives. Mindfulness in daily life. In the modern world, where distractions are everywhere, mindfulness offers a way to bring focus and balance to our lives. By practicing mindfulness, we can reduce stress, improve our concentration, and enhance our relationships. For example, when we are fully present with someone, listening attentively without distractions, we are able to connect with them on a deeper level. Mindfulness can also help us deal with difficult emotions. Rather than suppressing or reacting impulsively to our feelings, Mindfulness teaches us to observe them with curiosity and without judgment. This non-reactive awareness allows us to respond more skillfully to challenging situations, rather than being swept away by our emotions. In addition, mindfulness helps us cultivate gratitude for the simple things in life. When we are present and attentive, we can appreciate the beauty of nature, the joy of a kind word, or the comfort of a warm meal. These moments of mindfulness can bring a profound sense of joy and contentment. 5. The importance of compassion and loving-kindness. Metta. What is compassion and loving-kindness? Compassion, karuna, and loving-kindness, metta, are core teachings in Buddhism, emphasizing the importance of cultivating a heart full of love and empathy towards others. While compassion involves feeling for the suffering of others and wishing to relieve it, loving-kindness is the active wish for others to be happy and free from suffering. Both of these qualities are vital for creating peace, both in our hearts and in the world around us. In Buddhism, love is not limited to romantic or familial love, but extends to all beings, including those we may not know or even like. It is about seeing the interconnectedness of all life and recognizing that every being, no matter how different, desires happiness and seeks to avoid suffering. Compassion in the modern world. In today's fast-paced, often competitive world, it can be easy to become disconnected from others and to focus solely on our own needs and desires. However, the Buddha's teachings call us to expand our hearts and to recognize the pain and joy of others. Cultivating compassion allows us to respond to the world with a sense of deep care and concern for others' well-being. In a world that can feel isolating, practicing compassion is a remedy for loneliness and disconnection. It allows us to reach out to others in a genuine and meaningful way, whether it's through acts of kindness, a listening ear, or offering support in times of need. The more we practice compassion, the more we develop an attitude of non-judgment and acceptance toward others. For example, in our workplaces or social circles, we might encounter individuals who seem difficult or harsh. Rather than responding with frustration or anger, the Buddha teaches us to respond with compassion. Understanding that every person has their struggles and challenges allows us to develop patience and empathy, fostering more harmonious relationships. Loving-kindness and its role in healing. Loving-kindness goes hand in hand with compassion, but focuses more on offering love and good wishes to others without expecting anything in return. In times of conflict or when dealing with challenging relationships, practicing loving-kindness can have transformative effects. Instead of holding on to resentment or anger, we can use loving-kindness to soften our hearts and release negative emotions. In the modern world, where stress, anxiety, and conflict are common, loving-kindness offers a way to heal both ourselves and others. Through simple practices, such as silently wishing well for others, we can create a positive shift in our hearts and in the energy around us. One way to practice loving-kindness is through a meditation known as the Metta Bhavana, where we wish for the happiness and well-being of others. We start by wishing good things for ourselves and gradually extend those wishes to loved ones, neutral people, and even those we may find difficult. Over time, this practice helps us develop a deep, genuine love for others, regardless of their actions or behavior. Practicing compassion and loving-kindness in daily life. In our everyday interactions, we can apply these teachings by responding with kindness, patience, and understanding. In moments of frustration or irritation, we can remind ourselves that everyone is doing the best they can, and that a compassionate approach will always bring more peace than anger. For example, when we encounter someone who is rude or disrespectful, we might feel tempted to react with irritation. However, if we respond with compassion, perhaps recognizing that the other person might be struggling with their own issues, we can shift the interaction toward a more positive, peaceful exchange. This doesn't mean we allow others to treat us poorly, but it means we approach situations with kindness rather than anger. Compassion also extends to our relationship with the environment and the creatures we share the world with. The Buddha teaches that all living beings are interconnected, and our actions towards the environment should reflect this awareness. Small acts of kindness, such as reducing waste, recycling, or helping a neighbor in need, are ways to practice compassion on a larger scale. The ripple effect of compassion. Compassion has a ripple effect that can transform not only our own lives but the lives of those around us. When we offer compassion, it often inspires others to do the same. This creates a cycle of goodwill, where the positive energy we give spreads outward, creating a more harmonious world. In a world where negativity and conflict often seem dominant, the practice of compassion and loving-kindness can be revolutionary. It is through our individual acts of kindness that we contribute to a collective shift toward greater peace, understanding, and harmony. In modern society, where we are often surrounded by technological distractions and virtual interactions, the simple act of showing compassion, whether through a smile, a kind word, or a genuine gesture of support, can go a long way. Even the smallest acts of kindness have the potential to make a profound difference in someone's life, and they often come back to us in unexpected ways. 6. The Path to Liberation, the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. The Four Noble Truths, understanding the nature of suffering. The Buddha's path to liberation is grounded in the Four Noble Truths. These truths provide a clear and practical framework for understanding human suffering and the way out of it. The first truth is the truth of suffering, dukkha, which acknowledges that suffering is an inherent part of life. It is not merely the pain of physical illness or loss, but the deeper dissatisfaction that arises from our constant desire for things to be different than they are. The second noble truth is the truth of the cause of suffering, which is craving, tanha. Our attachment to desires, whether material, emotional, or psychological, is what creates suffering. The third truth is the truth of the cessation of suffering, which teaches that by letting go of craving, we can end our suffering. Finally, the fourth truth outlines the path to liberation, the Noble Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path, a practical guide to ethical living. The Noble Eightfold Path is the practical guide that leads to the cessation of suffering. It is divided into three main sections: ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom. These 8 factors are: right understanding, seeing the world as it truly is, with an understanding of impermanence, suffering, and non-self. Right intention, developing intentions of goodwill, compassion, and renunciation. Right speech, speaking truthfully and kindly, avoiding lies, gossip, and harmful speech. Right action, acting in ways that are ethical and beneficial, avoiding actions that cause harm to others. Right livelihood, choosing a career or occupation that is ethically sound and does not harm others. Right effort, putting in the effort to cultivate positive qualities and abandon negative ones. Right mindfulness, practicing mindfulness in all aspects of life, staying present and aware. Right concentration, developing deep concentration through meditation to gain insight into the nature of reality. The Eightfold Path is not meant to be followed rigidly or mechanically, but as a guide for living in a way that leads to inner peace and liberation. By cultivating these qualities, we gradually free ourselves from suffering and move closer to enlightenment. 7. The power of mindfulness in everyday life. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness, sati, is one of the central practices in Buddhism. It involves paying attention to the present moment without judgment. This means being fully aware of our thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations, and the world around us as it unfolds. By practicing mindfulness, we can break free from the autopilot mode in which we often live, allowing us to engage with life more fully and consciously. Mindfulness isn't limited to meditation, but can be applied in every aspect of daily life. Whether we're eating, walking, or working, mindfulness encourages us to pay attention to what we're doing with a clear and open mind, without distraction or reaction. This practice helps us cultivate a sense of presence, which can reduce stress, enhance our focus, and increase our overall well-being. Mindfulness in a distracted world. In the modern world, we are constantly bombarded with distractions: social media, emails, news, and the pressures of daily life. These distractions pull us away from the present moment, leaving us feeling disconnected, stressed, and overwhelmed. Buddhist teachings on mindfulness offer a remedy to this modern affliction. By practicing mindfulness, we can begin to break free from the constant cycle of mental chatter. Instead of reacting impulsively to our thoughts and emotions, we can observe them with a sense of detachment, recognizing that thoughts and feelings come and go. This allows us to cultivate greater emotional resilience and clarity in our decision-making. Mindfulness also helps us to see things as they truly are. When we become more mindful of our thoughts, we begin to notice patterns, both positive and negative. For example, we might recognize that we often think negatively about ourselves or feel anxious in certain situations. By becoming aware of these mental habits, we can begin to change them and cultivate more positive and constructive thought patterns. Mindfulness and emotional balance. One of the key benefits of mindfulness is that it helps us develop emotional balance. In the fast-paced modern world, it's easy to become overwhelmed by emotions like anger, frustration, or sadness. Mindfulness teaches us to notice these emotions without judgment and to allow them to pass without reacting to them impulsively. Through mindfulness, we learn to sit with our emotions, observing them without becoming consumed by them. This creates space between the stimulus, the event or situation, and our response, allowing us to choose how we react. Instead of reacting out of habit or emotion, we can respond thoughtfully and with a sense of calm. For instance, when we experience stress or frustration at work, mindfulness can help us step back and observe the situation without immediately reacting. We can breathe deeply, acknowledge our feelings, and then respond in a way that aligns with our values, rather than reacting with irritation or anger. Mindfulness in relationships. Mindfulness also plays a crucial role in improving our relationships. Often, we are distracted when interacting with others, whether by our own thoughts, our phones, or external stimuli. This distraction can create misunderstandings and reduce the quality of our communication. When we practice mindfulness in relationships, we are fully present with the other person. We listen attentively, without interrupting or thinking about what to say next. We observe their body language and tone, understanding that communication goes beyond words. This allows us to connect more deeply with others and respond to them with greater empathy and understanding. Mindfulness also helps us to avoid reacting defensively or impulsively in relationships. In moments of conflict, mindfulness allows us to pause and take a breath before responding, ensuring that our words and actions are in alignment with our values and intentions. Mindfulness as a path to inner peace. Ultimately, mindfulness is a tool for cultivating inner peace. It allows us to release our attachment to thoughts, emotions, and external circumstances, helping us to find contentment in the present moment. By practicing mindfulness regularly, we become less reactive and more grounded in the present, which leads to a greater sense of peace and well-being. This sense of peace, cultivated through mindfulness, extends to all aspects of life. It enables us to navigate challenges with greater ease and to respond to life's ups and downs with equanimity. Rather than seeking happiness through external sources, mindfulness helps us realize that peace and contentment are found within ourselves, regardless of the external circumstances. Practical steps for incorporating mindfulness into daily life. While formal meditation is an excellent way to practice mindfulness, there are many ways to incorporate mindfulness into everyday activities. Mindful breathing. Take moments throughout the day to focus on your breath. Simply inhale and exhale deeply, bringing your full attention to the sensation of your breath moving in and out of your body. Mindful eating. Instead of rushing through meals, slow down and savor each bite. Pay attention to the colors, textures, and flavors of your food. This practice helps cultivate gratitude and awareness of the nourishment you're receiving. Mindful walking. As you walk, notice the sensation of your feet touching the ground. Feel the movement of your body and observe the sights and sounds around you. Walking can be a meditative practice when done mindfully. Mindful listening. When talking to someone, listen with your full attention. Resist the urge to interrupt or judge. Simply listen to understand, and be present in the moment of conversation. Mindful technology use. In today's digital age, it's easy to become absorbed in technology. Set boundaries around screen time and practice mindful technology use. When using your phone or computer, focus on the task at hand and avoid mindless scrolling. By integrating mindfulness into small moments throughout the day, we can gradually transform our entire way of being. The more we practice, the more natural it becomes to be present and aware in all aspects of life. 8. Embracing the concept of impermanence, anicca. Understanding impermanence. One of the fundamental concepts in Buddhism is the notion of impermanence, anicca. The Buddha taught that all things in life are in a constant state of flux and change. Nothing is permanent. Everything, including our thoughts, emotions, and external circumstances, is subject to change. Recognizing the impermanent nature of life helps us to detach from the idea of permanence and security. We often cling to the belief that things, relationships, and situations will remain the same forever, which leads to disappointment and suffering when change inevitably occurs. Impermanence teaches us to let go of our attachments and to accept the flow of life as it is. Impermanence in modern life. In the modern world, we often strive for stability and certainty. We try to control our circumstances, our careers, and even our relationships in an effort to create a sense of permanence. However, this desire for control can lead to stress, anxiety, and frustration when things don't go as planned. The concept of impermanence offers a different perspective. It reminds us that change is a natural part of life and that our attachment to fixed outcomes creates unnecessary suffering. By accepting impermanence, we can learn to embrace the present moment and live with greater flexibility and resilience. For example, in times of loss or change, whether it's the end of a relationship, a job change, or the death of a loved one, impermanence helps us understand that these transitions are part of the natural cycle of life. Rather than resisting or resenting change, we can approach it with acceptance and equanimity. 9. The importance of compassion, karuna, in daily interactions. Understanding compassion. Compassion, karuna, is another core principle in Buddhism. It is the quality of empathy that arises when we recognize the suffering of others and wish to alleviate it. Compassion is not just about feeling sympathy for others. It is an active desire to help and support those who are suffering, whether physically, mentally, or emotionally. In Buddhism, compassion is considered essential for achieving enlightenment. It is deeply connected with the practice of loving-kindness, metta, which involves cultivating love and goodwill towards all beings. Compassion and loving-kindness work together to reduce our own suffering and contribute to the happiness of others. Compassion in the modern world. In today's world, many of us live busy, self-centered lives. We are often so focused on our own goals, careers, and challenges that we forget to consider the struggles of others. This lack of awareness can lead to feelings of isolation, conflict, and misunderstanding in relationships. Buddhist teachings on compassion offer an antidote to this problem. By developing compassion, we can break free from our egocentric tendencies and begin to see others not as obstacles or competitors, but as fellow human beings worthy of kindness and respect. Compassion allows us to see others' pain without judgment and to respond with kindness. Whether it's a friend going through a tough time, a colleague struggling with a difficult task, or a stranger in need, compassion enables us to act selflessly and make a positive impact on those around us. Compassion in action. Compassion isn't just a passive feeling. It requires action. In Buddhism, compassion is shown through acts of kindness, service, and generosity. It might involve offering a helping hand to someone in need, listening attentively to someone who feels unheard, or simply offering words of encouragement to someone going through a challenging period. In a world that can often seem cold and indifferent, small acts of compassion can have a profound impact. They not only help those in need, but also cultivate a sense of interconnectedness and harmony in society. Compassion in relationships. Compassion plays a vital role in our relationships, whether with family, friends, coworkers, or strangers. It allows us to be more understanding and patient with others, even in difficult situations. Rather than reacting with frustration or anger, compassion teaches us to approach others with empathy and gentleness. For example, when a loved one is going through a tough time, instead of offering solutions or judgment, we can show compassion by simply being present and listening. Offering a supportive word, a warm hug, or a simple gesture of kindness can make all the difference. In times of conflict, compassion helps us to avoid getting caught up in blame or resentment. It encourages us to understand the perspective of the other person and respond with kindness rather than defensiveness. This leads to more harmonious and fulfilling relationships, built on mutual respect and understanding. Compassion for ourselves. Buddhist teachings also emphasize the importance of compassion for oneself. Often, we are our own harshest critics, constantly judging ourselves for our mistakes and shortcomings. This self-judgment can create feelings of guilt, shame, and inadequacy. Compassion for oneself is about treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer to a friend. It involves letting go of self-blame and accepting our imperfections with grace. When we show compassion to ourselves, we are better equipped to show compassion to others. Self-compassion can be cultivated through mindfulness and self-awareness. It means acknowledging our pain and struggles without judgment, offering ourselves kindness, and learning to heal from our emotional wounds. By doing so, we create a foundation of love and acceptance that radiates outward to others. 10. The art of letting go, Vairagya. Understanding the concept of letting go. In Buddhism, the practice of letting go is closely tied to the concept of non-attachment. Letting go involves releasing our grip on things, whether material possessions, relationships, or even emotions, that we believe bring us happiness or fulfillment. The Buddha taught that attachment is the root of suffering, and the path to liberation lies in letting go of our attachments. Letting go doesn't mean that we stop caring about things or people. Rather, it means that we stop clinging to them in a way that causes us suffering. It's about recognizing that nothing in life is permanent and that true peace comes from accepting change and impermanence. Letting go in the modern world. In the modern world, attachment manifests in various ways. We become attached to material possessions, the approval of others, and even our own identity or sense of self. These attachments create a false sense of security, leading to feelings of anxiety, fear, and frustration when they are threatened or lost. Buddhism teaches that by letting go of these attachments, we can experience freedom and peace. This doesn't mean abandoning all our desires or responsibilities, but rather cultivating a healthy relationship with them. Instead of clinging to things or people for our sense of worth, we learn to appreciate them without becoming dependent on them for our happiness. Letting go can be a challenging practice, especially when it comes to relationships, career, or material possessions. However, it is essential for living a more balanced and peaceful life. When we stop clinging to the idea of permanence and control, we create space for growth, transformation, and acceptance. Letting go of negative emotions. Letting go also applies to our emotional states. We often hold on to negative emotions like anger, fear, resentment, and jealousy. These emotions can fester within us, affecting our mental and physical health. Buddhism teaches that these emotions are not inherently bad, but when we cling to them, they cause suffering. Through mindfulness and self-awareness, we can learn to observe our emotions without attachment. Instead of identifying with our anger or sadness, we recognize them as temporary states that will pass. Letting go of negative emotions doesn't mean suppressing or ignoring them. It means releasing our attachment to them and allowing ourselves to feel them without becoming consumed by them. For example, when we feel anger rising, we can take a moment to pause, breathe, and recognize that the anger is temporary. Rather than acting on the anger, we can allow it to dissolve naturally. This practice of letting go can lead to greater emotional freedom and peace. Letting go in relationships. In relationships, letting go is also crucial. Often, we become attached to the idea of how relationships should be or to specific outcomes. This attachment can create unrealistic expectations, leading to disappointment and frustration. Letting go in relationships means allowing people to be themselves without trying to change or control them. It also involves releasing our attachment to specific outcomes, such as expecting a relationship to last forever or wanting someone to behave in a certain way. By letting go of these expectations, we can approach relationships with greater openness and acceptance. When we practice non-attachment in relationships, we can love others freely without clinging to them. This creates a healthier, more fulfilling connection based on mutual respect and understanding. Conclusion: the path to inner peace and fulfillment. In conclusion, the profound lessons from Buddhist scriptures offer valuable insights into how we can live a more peaceful, mindful, and fulfilling life in the modern world. Buddhism, with its emphasis on mindfulness, compassion, non-attachment, and wisdom, provides pract. In a fast-paced world where distractions, stress, and emotional turmoil are commonplace, these teachings remind us to slow down, reflect, and cultivate a sense of inner peace. By practicing mindfulness and being fully present in each moment, we can find joy in the simplicity of life, free from the burden of regret or anxiety about the future. Compassion, both towards others and ourselves, encourages us to foster empathy and kindness in our relationships, helping to build stronger, more harmonious connections. When we embrace the practice of letting go, we free ourselves from the chains of attachment that often lead to suicide. Ultimately, the Buddhist teachings remind us that true happiness does not come from external sources, whether possessions, achievements, or the approval of others, but from within. It is found in cultivating a peaceful mind, living with intention, and aligning our actions with values of wisdom, compassion, and non-atta. As we strive to integrate these teachings into our modern lives, we can gradually transform our perception of the world and our place in it. By doing so, we create a foundation for lasting peace, contentment, and spiritual growth. The wisdom contained in the Buddhist scriptures is timeless. In embracing these teachings, we take a step closer to understanding our true nature, living more authentically, and ultimately finding lasting fulfillment in the journey of life.